Guru Nation, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share. Look, on my other channel, which is a way smaller channel, we only have like 400 subscribers, the Clinical Research Circle. The link is underneath this video. You can see the full interview. This is my reaction to Travis Mickle's interview. I call him the People CEO on KMPH stock KemPharm upcoming events. I know this has been a really popular stock for this channel. I'm a fan. I don't know too many people are not fans, although the more the stock price starts to go down, the less fans and the more haters come out. But the entire market, all the biotechs are taking a dump right now. And the whole market in general is, because Jerome Powell came out today. This is January 26, 2022. If you're watching in the future, let us know how we did in the comments below. So this is where I ask him if he personally has been buying any more stocks, KMPH stock, with the price being so low on the dip. That's one of the questions we get.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think folks have seen that I purchase every year. I purchase as much as I can at any given one moment, but we are always bound by blackout periods in which insiders cannot trade, whether it's myself or some of our even other employees in the company. And that I can't tell you why that is. Sometimes that's due to the fact that earnings haven't come out yet. We haven't done our year end, and we may know something that not everybody knows at this point. It can also be strategic, like if we're in discussions with a partner, or to buy somebody else, or to acquire or be acquired. All of those things are reasons why, if I'm not buying at low dips, you probably should take notice, right?
Listen to what he said there. Okay, to me, that's super interesting. He said, okay, we have blackout periods. If we know something's coming out, for example, good study results or bad study results, we have blackout period. We can't buy or sell. But look, he said, look at what I don't do just as much as what I do. So sometimes it could be a blackout period for an acquisition talks. I know there's been a lot of rumors circulating online about different companies, Takeda being one. The rumors are, okay, maybe Takeda's in talks with them. Maybe this is why he was so confident in this interview, because he knows he's sitting on two aces. Next, I ask him if the company has instituted a share buyback.
What I can say, was effectively what was said in the press release. And look, we instituted up to a $50 million program. We intended to be active immediately. That means, in the market, buying shares immediately. You would think not, but you can see that our end of the year balance that we projected last year was not in that $1 to $1.5 million range that we've been in for many quarters now. So, by inference, you kind of decide, well, were they in the market last year by the end of last year? I think it's obvious, right? But have we been since? I can't say directly, but we do intend to use this program strategically, of course, within all the regulations and guidelines, but as well actively. We want to be active in it. Now, do we go up to 50 million? It's our bucket, and how much water do we fill it with? That's dependent on lots of various inputs and outputs.
Here I ask him about the competitive landscape of ADHD drugs and if he's been monitoring those.
Yes, yeah, no, we track them very closely. The legacy products like Vyvanse and Concerta and others, they're established brands, right? They're not going to change that much. But we've been looking at the recent launch of Quelby, which is a Supernus non-stimulant, that's almost a different category altogether. It's not even close to a one-to-one analysis there. But also looking at Journey, which is the night before product, supposed to help in the morning and with ADHD symptoms. So, we're tracking that as far as not just scripts that we look at compared to where Astaris is, but we also look at that. Sorry, a little bit bumping. We also look at that compared to coverage with payers, because that's really the key metric. If you can get payers to cover it and it's a better product, it will ultimately it'll be the market leader. That's always has how it plays out. So in this particular instance, we see that Corium is several months ahead from where Journey was, and we like that, right? Maybe behind in scripts because they haven't been, in a national launch, but now they are, and now we know that they can make up headway quickly.
So here I'm about to ask him, or I just did ask him, if he's talking to companies about licensing the ligand activated technology. Listen to the answer, and then I'm going to give my thoughts and commentary after.
Yes, actually, we have. We've had a pretty active business development effort since the approval of Astaris. I mean, we always have. That's been our focus. But I think the credibility of having now two approved and licensed products, folks understanding that Astaris has done very well. Some of the attributes, like with STX with the Schedule 4, nobody expected. So, like, well, can they do that for our molecule? And that's been part of our story on a business development side. It's not front and center with us. We've done a few of these small deals, Tuzar. We did another one to bring kind of a dual co-development, but they're all early stage. But now we're getting interest, from kind of the little later stage as well as kind of mid-stage development where they want their intellectual property or patents extended. They want to improve some feature about the product. And those would be great, right? They're all gravy at that point. Do you get a deal? How any sort of upfront? It's really about the long-term value. Can I have a part of something I would have never developed in the first place, where they're going to spend all the money and all the resources to get it there?
Yeah, so that right there, the ligand activated technology, we talk a lot. Dr. Al Jazairli, who joins us on the Clinical Research Circle, we talk all the time about biotechs are not just a one-off anymore. It's all about the platform. So it's more like building a platform rather than a drug. It's building a platform around some kind of technology. In the case of KemPharm, it's ligand activated technology. And yes, of course, there's companies interested in licensing this. There's probably companies interested in acquiring this. And this is why it goes back to the first question. And I get into it again in this interview about buyouts. I just thought it was interesting. It's important to keep in mind again, these biotechs are platforms at the end of the day. So here I asked them about substance use disorder and again about partnerships. What kind of partnerships are you seeking for substance use disorder?
Well, I tried to touch on this during our presentation and in the press release, but it does require a little bit more explanation. So it's actually a great question to think about 879. When we did the study over the summer and through this year, and it read out late last year, and it's still not officially all complete, we just realized that there's expertise here that exists in academic labs and in government, of course, at NIDA and other agencies that focus on drug abuse that we just nobody else in the world has. So we thought, well, I think let's get a grant. Let's see if this makes sense for NIDA to either do the study or pay for the study. I think they'll probably want to do it. Honestly, we had the same offer when I was working on Vyvanse. And that's a good start. Like, let's get some clinical data from some experts, and then go out and seek an industry partner. I did mention, I think on the call, we've had interest. Folks are interested in the space because there's nothing out there, but there's so much that's been tried and failed.
So here I asked Travis about the Epion trademark. There's been a trademark extension on the name Epion, and everybody's kind of curious, like, what is this about? Does this mean he's going to spin off part of the company? And so maybe like when he's at least hypothetically entertaining all these buyout offers, maybe he can spin something out, like they're negotiating what to sell, what to keep. So that's some speculation. Let's see his answer. Again, body language is important. Does he have planned? I don't even know what this is. What are they talking about?
We have a few trademarks for, if we ever want to do a subsidiary or a spin out of any of our assets. We have assets that nobody knows.
See, if we ever want to do a subsidiary or a spin out of any of our assets.
About from very early private days of the company in bipolar disease, schizophrenia. Of course, we have the opioid products that we developed and Apidaz approval, and a few others that you could spin that out, sell it. spin it out, create its own focused organization, and keep a few trademarks around just so that when you want to do that, you don't have to go and buy a URL and everything.
So here I asked them about Corium's deal overseas. I think it's China, and I think he confirms this in the interview. This is something that a lot of the hardcore KMPH fans were like really glad they got some answers to. So this is Travis's response. Agreement.
Oh, yeah. Maybe they're referring to a deal that Corium did with a partner in China.
Oh, okay.
Um, we don't get to say what anything that they do, they have first say, and whether they want it press released or not, and how they want it press released. And they thought it's just more appropriate for them and the partner to do so. If you go back through the agreement, you can find what the economics are. We get about 10% of the upfront. So there's a benefit there for the company, and of course, it's more validation, right? This is a big product, big opportunity. If I was Corium, I'd be looking at the Canadian market. I'd be looking at Europe, thinking about Latin America, Central America.
And Corium's founder is from Europe. Some really rich dude. You guys let me know in the comments his name. I forgot. So here I asked about analyst coverage. How important is it for him to pick up new analysts to cover? That's kind of what drives stocks. That's kind of what drives institutional investors. And I ask about institutional investors as well.
I think it's been pretty quiet. We meet with folks all the time, and I think that's kind of part of how you build the story, and something that we've done. The transformation we went through last year was critical. Nobody would have covered us. I think only H.C. Wainwright was the only group that did at that point, or in Livnet. And eventually we got through that. We added the Roth analyst, and then right now I think the biggest problem is analysts say, well, we love your company, but we sell to institutions and they're not buying. So they can cover you and do various things at that point, but they're kind of waiting for the market to clear too. That's what my belief is. I also know there is a huge labor shortage in that space. So if anybody wants to become a writing analyst for one of these investment banks, go for it.
Writing at Guru Nation, there you go. If you're really interested in science, biotech, and you can get some financial, if you have some financial background, start a blog on this. Be an analyst. Start your own blog, and then someone's going to pick you up. So here I asked Travis about Pasco and the new executive chairman of the company. And really, Pasco was brought on to bring about a transformative event for the company. And that generally means deal making. And here's what Travis says about that.
Yeah, back in November, he kind of transitioned internally to executive chairman. So I think that's what they're asking about. Part of his mission is to do just what the question said, a transformative transaction. Now, I think our focus has been, can we bring in new assets to the company that we can develop and get more clinical data quicker, get to a potential approval. And
so deal making doesn't just mean selling KMPH's assets. It means bringing in assets. Now they have enough cash of their own. We actually get into this. They have like a lot of cash on hand. So here I actually discuss a personal situation I had. So I'm in clinical research. You guys probably know that, but I have a clinic here in Yuma, Arizona, brand new. And I was talking to some of the providers, and KMPH came up, and they do see ADHD patients quite a bit. So I was like, you know what? Have you heard of Astaris? And all of them said no. And I said, well, I interviewed the CEO on the show here and there. Seems interesting. They told me right there, pull up GoodRx. Let's see what it costs. And it was astronomical compared to the other prices of drugs that they were giving generic. So I asked Travis this question. I wanted to see his answer, and I wanted you guys to see it too. Real world practical stuff. Because I'll be honest with you, like I own a clinic here, and I talk to my provider. I'm in an underserved area, okay, Yuma, Arizona. But I showed them, like I tell them, hey, there's this new drug. We interview the CEO a lot on the show. It's called Astaris. So they had me pull it up on GoodRx, and they were like, wow, this is expensive. Like, this is an underserved community, but like, can you kind of comment a little bit on this kind of sentiment, and also like combine that with the feedback you've been getting from reps and physicians?
Well, maybe I'll start with the pricing, right? I think when Corium, and this is again, this is my own thoughts of what I would go through if I was pricing. I would look at the other brand products like Vyvanse and Concerta, the brand name versions, not the generic versions. I would look at their sales and I would price in that range, and that's what I think Corium's done. And it's a better product. It should be the same as the other products in that space. Now, what has happened, and this is where I say about critical about payer coverage, is initially there's no payer coverage, right? You can have a copay card, which they do. They have a great copay program where you don't pay more than a certain amount if you don't have coverage. But at the same time, that can be a real limitation when you can get something that maybe doesn't work well, maybe doesn't work really at all, but it's something that is much, much cheaper. And so with that payer coverage comes, the needs. And you talk about underserved. I mean, 30% of ADHD market is Medicaid. And states don't add things on their Medicaid on a regular basis, right? They don't have to, so they don't. So we had some big wins in Texas and Indiana, and you just got to go by their schedule. It's a calendar schedule, and once you meet with them, it could take another 12 months for you to get added to Medicaid. Once that happens, though, you're in good shape. You should have the right coverage in place. And I think
Once you're added to Medicaid, guys, but it's a process.
that's really important because it pairs with your first part of your question. The clinicians, the physicians, the patients that I have heard from in the sales force is there's no pushback. Everybody gets exactly what the message is, exactly what the benefits are, and say, obviously, if I have my choice and this works for my patients, I would much rather they be on that.
Yeah, but a lot of these doc prescribers can't do that because, like he said, Medicaid 30%. In the area I'm at, it's like over 50% on Medicaid. Here, I asked Travis about Vyvanse. He's the inventor of Vyvanse. How that run that he had early in his career compares to this run that he's having now with KemPharm.
Doing what we do because not only will we make money and get to where we want to be personally, but you're doing it for good reasons, right? You're really helping improve everyone's day to day, and you hear CEOs say that all the time, but I know I do because I invented it, I developed it, I get to be a part of it, and it's like, well, you talk about what somebody else did. No, I did it. Everybody I've invented Vyvanse, right? I mean, it's a great product for amphetamine, but amphetamine's harsh, and Stars is just it works, and you don't have to think about it. It just works in the background, really. Starts quick, lasts all day, lasts day over day, no peaks, no bumps.
And that's it. That's some of the highlights. Of course, the whole thing is like almost an hour. So I encourage you to go check it out if you're interested in this company, in this stock, in this technology, in this CEO. Link underneath the video, and also check out Travis on LinkedIn. He's accessible, guys. And let me know what you guys think about this. As always, this is not financial advice. This is just my curiosity in the biotech realm. Guru Nation, take care. Bye-bye.